Hey, my name is Trey Bolin, and I'm your host for Origin Stories. I love to hear about new beginnings, the pivots, the fresh starts, and what happened to get you to where you are today. Everybody has an origin story, and I can't wait to share yours. Jen, I'm so excited to have you here with us today. So, the reason that I'm super excited because I've known Jen a super long time because my mom knows Jen. And so I love relationships that have depth to them and I'm so excited to have Jen share. So, Jen, who are you? What do you do? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much. And I'm honored to call you my friend as well, my friend. And also, not gonna lie, we have a little matchy hair. So it was meant to be.
Yes.
So I am Jen McClure, and I wear several hats in life. I'm a wife, a mom, a Grammy, a fur baby mama, a coffee lover, child of God, sales director with Mary Kay, and most recently the CEO and founder of Chapter Two Wisdom, which is my brand new venture into the world of being an author, speaker, and mental wellness coach as someone thriving on the other side of a devastating mental health crisis that was almost my final chapter, except thank the Lord it wasn't. And here I am and trying to help people who may be struggling with that as well.
I love that, Jen. I think that's really beautiful. I'd love for you to share just a little bit, if you're willing to, about what happened, just to kind of give us a brief overview of what was going on in your life when you had this moment.
This moment that lasted 4 years. So
Yeah,
great.
it's a long
Well,
time.
yeah, it is. And here's what I here's one of the things that I talk about in my book is that depression is an equal opportunity predator.
Mm, mm,
What people are carrying on the inside, I think we work really, really hard not to let the world see that,
yeah,
because many of us are what I call SRP, super responsible people.
yeah.
So we we feel like we only have value if we are bringing our A game. And
Hmm.
if you look like this and your bank account looks like that and you're on blah blah boards and doing all of the things. So we forget that we are not human doings, we are human beings.
Hmm.
And how I crashed actually uh, goes way back in my history of life. Some relatively early childhood traumas that
Mm,
they're just things that folks don't talk about. And if you don't get that foundational stuff healed, you go on to build a life on a shaky foundation and you don't know it, because we'll
mm,
all just do the best that we can, right?
yeah.
So in my case, there was a season, there were just a number of back-to-back traumas and things that I didn't give myself permission, opportunity, space, and I didn't have the capacity or the tools to grieve them properly and process. So you just keep stuffing, and there came a time that I just I couldn't do it anymore, and just literally broke.
Mm,
um at the time, I had three small kids at home.
mm.
I was homeschooling, some days not very
I can relate
successfully.
to that.
Right, you're like, that's a thing all it's on its own, right?
Yeah.
um but my husband had had a motorcycle accident, and all
Mm,
of a sudden now I'm uh homeschooling these kids, and now, oh, I have to bring in all the money as well. We also, the other thing that was going on in our home that was that my husband was not healthy. So
mm,
if you know us now, you know that we're head over heels in love, and that has been very much a divine restoration of our marriage and all of the things. But for many years, he was struggling under the weight of PTSD, and we didn't know what to call
mm,
that, because he
yeah.
is a good man and had worked in the juvenile corrections world for decades,
Mm,
and they sucked all the love out of him. And
Yeah.
so he was just angry, and he brought all that home.
Mm,
In the meantime, we had adopted our son, who struggled with many of the same issues and challenges that my husband faced every day at work. So there was no safe
wow.
place for him,
Yeah.
and he wasn't processing, and so our house was scary and not safe, and it the day came that all of that. I talk about this in the book. All of the things that I worked so hard to overcome actually rose up and overcame me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't get out of bed. And I was a successful director with Mary Kay at the time. And if you don't call your customers for 4 years, they do move on because they do need to wash their face,
Yeah.
and they should.
Yes. Yes.
Bless their hearts. So
Mm,
yeah, couldn't I remember the day. It was very much like everything just kind of fried, and I couldn't make decisions. I It was just this nebulous terror. Couldn't
mm,
make a decision, stopped at making eye contact, couldn't have simple thoughts. I couldn't put two thoughts together. I stopped speaking.
mm.
Yeah,
I can't
sometimes
imagine that.
I know.
You love to share.
I do love to share. No, all of that just left the building, and I gained 120 pounds
Oh
because
no. Wow.
I just didn't care. I didn't care if I lived or died.
Mm,
Um, I didn't care. I did have an exit plan,
mm,
and thankful that some good help intervened. So
mm.
that story is that was not my final chapter, but
Yeah.
I think once you have been through something, like, if you have never experienced depression, um, you you won't get it. I can't explain it to you in a way that you will honestly understand the madness, the
Yes.
chaos, the chorus in my head.
Mm,
It was just devastating. I mean, and it's been some years, and it still
yeah.
brings tears to my eyes. To I don't like to go back there
Yeah.
because I was so very broken.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. So eh, I can't explain it in a way that you will get it, but if you've been there, you never forget it either.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for a good recovery program, for good doctors, all of the things. I'm very thankful that my marriage did survive and was
Yeah. Praise
thriving on the
God.
other side of that. I did come back and rebuild my Mary Kay business from the ground up, but I'm a very different human than I was before that experience. And
Mm,
I think at once, if you are gifted um, a second chance, there's a reason.
yeah.
And so that was the beginning of how can I help people to not feel quite so alone in that
Yeah.
season, because that's one of the most insidious things about depression,
Mm,
is you just feel so alone. And
yeah.
and if I had had someone to come alongside me that had walked that walk and said, "I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you are going to
Hmm.
be it."
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
that story might have been different. So I'm very thankful for the opportunity now to take that additional wisdom, move forward with life, and maybe be that coach and that support for other people.
I love hearing you share that. And thank you so much for being so vulnerable. I know that I also suffered a time of depression after I had my daughter. I'd heard about postpartum depression, baby blues. And that's what I thought it was. I thought it was baby blues. And when baby blues last, it's normally like 2 months or so to kind of get readjusted and you're out of the newborn phase. But it was still 10 months and I was crying in the shower. And, I had people that were checking in on me, but I was in my mind, I just thought, this is normal. this is normal and this is just how it's going to be. And I wonder, do you have anything that you could say to someone that is maybe in that spot of that I was, that you were, that's just kind of stuck? Maybe they think it's normal like I did, or maybe they're just so overwhelmed. How can we be a good advocate and a good friend to make a connection? What do you think could be done to help people that are in that spot?
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah.
So much. But I think my best advice would be that when it depends on where you are in that journey.
Mm,
Um, like for me, I was so very deep in it that I really just did want to be left the heck alone. Again,
wow.
right. So I intentionally withdrew from
Mm,
my loved ones because I knew I was planning to take my life, and I
yeah.
thought it would be kinder if I just wasn't connected to them in the first place, because then
Uh,
they would somehow be more okay. 'Cause I had extricated myself from their life early. Well, that's pretty whacked, right?
yeah, yeah. But our minds just think things that aren't true, and it's so hard to unthink it when you're in it.
Correct. So, as someone on the outside looking in, if you are concerned that a loved one is kind of feeling that way, my best advice would be to not give up. Don't give up
Mm,
on them. I think if you can just sit with them and let them be and know
mm,
that you are a safe place, that is, I'll tell you what, that is hard to, it's hard to unravel. It's hard to
mm,
watch. And my husband talks about that season that he was actually, it was a 4 year um, grieving period for him,
mm.
because that it was like I was dead, but not
Yeah,
like who I was wasn't there, but my body was still sitting in the living room.
yeah.
And if people, if you just are prepared, I don't know that there's a way to be prepared, but if you know that up front, that your
Mhm.
loved one is not the disease, who they are is
Yeah.
still there, and fighting for them is worth it.
Yes.
Sometimes
I
it's just a matter of being present.
yeah. I think that's beautiful advice. I think I didn't need anybody to say anything, but just someone to sit with me. I think that's beautiful. And I think that encouragement of we don't need to have the right answers to be a good friend.
Right. The word that comes to mind is grace.
Mm,
Just your chances are your loved one who is in that season, the inner critic in their head does not need your help.
mm,
Being more
yeah.
critical. Um, allow them to be, but also let them know that that you are looking forward to rediscovering them when they get better. And don't
Mm,
talk about if, talk about when. Talk about when.
mhm.
Make
Yeah.
sense? I mean, for me, the healing process was, it was, many aspects to it. I did a year with Celebrate Recovery, which is a faith-based recovery program, very
Yes.
powerful.
Very
Uh,
powerful.
I found the right counselor. I did seek a medical professional because there were
Mm,
some chemical imbalances going on in my body as well.
wow.
So talk about this in the book, that depression can have its roots in, can be situational, it can be emotional, it can be physical, it can be spiritual. So
Yeah.
for me, it was a full frontal attack from in all of those arenas. And yeah, so for whoever needs to hear that, there you go.
Yeah, I think that's great encouragement because it doesn't, maybe it's going to hit in one of those four. Maybe it will be a combination or like all, like you were saying. But I love that encouragement to when you find yourself there, if you find yourself there, these are avenues. Celebrate Recovery is a beautiful, amazing program. I know that Grief Share is also a wonderful program for people that are grieving. That I've had several friends that said that that was just what they needed. And so, what I'm hearing is that outside support. We can't always get better just like boom, and now I'm good. So having that outside support.
And that is one of the most insidious things about depression is
Mhm,
you is that you tend to isolate because I'm going to talk about this in the book. I felt like I was drowning, like I was
mhm,
under water, and I could see people on the other side of
mm,
where I was, but it was almost like through the water and I could not get to them.
mm,
But you know that that's not what they are experiencing on their end. So I worked so very hard to pretend I was connecting, and it was just exhausting. So eventually, it's just easier to stop trying because
mm,
it's so exhausting. You feel so very disconnected, and isolating is easier. It can also be deadly. It's wow.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
And
just
because when we're alone, that's when our brain attacks us. That's when our emotions can go out of whack. I appreciate that encouragement to have someone come and sit. Maybe we can, if we're that person that's going through it, invite someone to come and sit. Trying not to isolate. I think that's what I was trying not to do when I was in my most fragile state, is getting around people. That was work that I was trying to do. But I know something else that you keyed into was the imbalances, that sometimes we experience that we don't know that we have. And I know I found supplemental support, and it sounds like you found some support as well from that. And I wanted to highlight that because vitamins, supplements, medicine is not the enemy. And sometimes you need that additional support. I know many of my friends love Jesus, and I do too, but I'm not going to say that he's not enough. But sometimes there are chemical imbalances that need to be corrected. That was your experience?
yes, because I love Jesus also, and Jesus called some people to be doctors.
Yeah.
And gave them the ability to create medical tests and things like that. So yes, I do. I work with a gal who really focuses on functional medicine. So
Mm,
I love that she was not just about, oh, you're sad, let's take this pill and then you won't feel like that anymore. She was very much like, let's figure out what the heck is going on because
mhm.
um God did not create us to be to sink under the attacks like that. So I found that I have a double variant on something called the MTHFR gene, which
Mm,
means that is a significant mood stabilizer in your world and kind of turns other genes on and off. And if that is out of whack, you get that part fixed, and that then creates a positive ripple effect opposed to um, go in the other direction.
yes.
Bipolar runs in my family,
Mm,
and I talk about this in the book as well. Just because um, depression runs in your family doesn't mean you need to give it permission to run over your family. You know,
that
there are things that you can do.
I
It,
love that encouragement because, yeah, just like you're saying, maybe you do have that genetic bent. Maybe you do have the MTHFR, and coincidentally, I do have a variant as well. And, finding out things about my history helped me to make changes in my present with myself. And it sounds like the same thing happened with you because when we know that there's something in our past, experientially, you had your 4-year situation that upset the apple cart, took things for a whirl, but now you're using that as a platform to speak to. So I'd love to hear how that happened. When was the aha moment of, okay, I can use this for something better?
That is a very wow, that is a great question. So, I love to write. I love to write. I frequently will tell folks that writing is the one thing that I can't not do. It just like God puts things in my heart and like blah blah blah, and it's almost like not me. Does that make sense? I hope that doesn't sound like
Totally does.
weird. But it just comes out of me like that. So, how it actually happened was I was on a podcast with our good friend Jason Tracy, and he's like, "Oh, tell me all about Mary Kay." This was like before all of this was public knowledge kind of deal, and and I was like, "Oh, and so this happened, and then I got my free car, and it's so great, and I was real successful for like 12 years, and then I had a health crisis and couldn't function for about 4 years, but then I got better and came back out and rebuilt it again." And he's like, "Okay, here's a story that I really want to explore. Tell me about that." And I went, "Oh, it wasn't. I didn't know that's what we were doing on this podcast. Okay." So so I shared, I was like, "Huh, okay, really? You want to talk about that?" Because that part is not pretty. That's not,
Yeah.
when my primary income is being, help the world be more pretty, and then there's this whole not pretty going on in the background. I was like, "Huh, oh, interesting. That's okay. I guess we're going there." So I shared a little bit about that journey, and I look over at Jason, and he is a high energy and positive and a manly man, and he's got tears streaming down his face.
Yeah.
And I went, "Oh, huh, um, I guess maybe this is an important part of my journey, and
Yeah.
there's a reason that I made it through, right?"
Hmm.
So I looked at him and I said, "And I'm writing a book about that experience to try and help people." I was not writing a book at that point, but
That,
I knew I was supposed to, and I was just being scared. So I said that out loud. And when you say that out loud on someone's podcast, and you're a person that is integrity is very important, and then you need to follow through on your word and write the book. So
yeah.
I I came home and told my husband, I'm like, "I guess I'm writing this book now." And I went upstairs for about 2 days, and wrote the book, and yeah, in my little writing studio. And my husband, he like pokes his head, and he's like, "Did you take a shower?" I was like, "Nope, I sure didn't. Nope, I didn't, but I'm on a roll, baby." He's like, "I'll
Yeah.
just make more coffee." Okay. So I emerged 2 days later, pretty much with the thing done. And God always has a plan. So wrote it in about 2 days, 2 days and a couple hours on the third day. And within 24 hours, I didn't know any of the techie stuff, blah blah blah. Within about 24 hours, I met someone who became my publisher. I met someone to do my website, and we got a check in the mail for $3,000 that we had overpaid on our escrow for our car, for our house rather. So I'm like, confirmation, confirmation,
Yeah.
confirmation. Okay, I guess we're doing the book. So that's my good friend Dara taught me that blessing is always attached to obedience.
Hmm.
And sometimes you just have to have that 1 minute of insane courage to dip your foot in the Red Sea, or however you want to think about that.
Hmm.
And then the resources that you need will show up. So that's
That
that.
is so true.
That's how it happened.
One step at a time, one little way that you're obeying, doing the next thing. That's my favorite quote. Elizabeth Elliot is famous for saying her husband was tragically murdered, and she continued to stay and minister to those people that murdered him. And that was what she was known for saying, do the next thing. do the next thing, wake up and do the next thing, and that's what I hear you encouraging, is that taking that one step towards the recovery, towards the freedom from depression, towards writing the book, towards your journey to whatever is going to come next. And I love that. Is there anything that you'd love to share as we're kind of wrapping up here, to someone who's maybe been where you were? Maybe they're in that 4 years time frame, or maybe something really challenging has happened. What would you like to say to that person as they're listening?
Mm. What I would say is the other side is worth it. I look at my life now, and we just welcomed our third grandson, and it could have gone differently. It could have gone differently, and I'm devastatingly aware of how it could have gone differently. And the life that I have now is so um, over the top blessed. Um, it's completely worth whatever you have to do to fight for your future, and your loved ones deserve it. And the world needs light and hope, and
Mhm.
maybe your name is on that calling to bring light and hope to somebody that you don't even know,
Yeah.
or future generations that you might not ever meet. But you are called to be a vessel of influence to change their life.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That deeply resonated with me. I know that there's a campaign right now, Stay One More Day.
Mhm.
And it's a sweatshirt that I've seen. It says "Stay One More Day," and on the back is 100 reasons why the world needs you. And I
Mm.
love that encouragement. If you're here, you have a reason, you have a purpose. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your heart, for being vulnerable with us, for taking us back to your origin story. And how can people get connected with you?
What a great question. Well, I know the link to the book will be in the show notes,
Yes.
but I'm also launching an online free online challenge, mental wellness challenge, in the month of October, and
Mm.
I'm creating that right now, and also have some speaking engagements coming up, um, facilitating a woman's empowerment circle. Lots and lots of interesting things on the horizon. I don't know. You know what? Shoot me a text. I'm an open book, really. So my personal cell is 517-861-1601, or shoot me an email to Jen at chapter2wisdom.com. Just say, I heard your podcast and I would love to hear about what's next. And as those things, as I roll out those things, I will be delighted to have you be part of that tribe and see what we could become together. So there you
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing our next origin story next week. Bye.
go. Oh, and I'm on Facebook, so you can find me there
Oh,
too. Also, that.
yes, that's great. All right.
Yeah.
Bye.